We are back on MorningLine. Interesting conversation here. We can take a few of your calls in our final segment if you want as we talk affordable housing with Metro Councilman Bob Mendez, Metro Councilwoman Berkeley Allen. Nice to have them on. Thank you for coming, both of you. Appreciate it. This is really interesting. I was just asking them how crazy it must be. Berkeley was telling me that it used to be that the Planning Commission meetings would be just an hour, in and out, home in time for dinner, whatever. Now these meetings go on because really this city is inundated with developers that want to build. Is that right? Mm-hmm. They're just coming and pitching their idea and their plan and trying to figure out what they can do. I mean, it's that busy. Just crazy.
It's nonstop. Nonstop.
And all right, so we see that happening. That's not waning at all. What are most of them after? You get a sense. Wow. Is it the high-end units?
It's high-end units, and the money behind large projects is national money.
Okay, that's okay.
And so people sit in New York and Chicago and Philadelphia and decide where they're going to deploy their capital, where they want to build, and they look across the whole country. Nashville has been and continues to be a very attractive market. The only hint of a possible cooling that's out there is I hear some developers talk about it being harder to find financing for large rental projects in Nashville because apparently some national lenders believe we may be getting overheated in our rental market.
Okay, in the rental market. I just wonder too, I mean, you don't want to go back to 2000, 2007, 8, and of course there have been reforms in lending and all of that, which can protect us, but I got to believe that in some places in the country, including here in Nashville, there's a bubble. And it's forming, and people are paying top dollar for some of these units that, I'm sorry, aren't going to be worth that. No matter what, if you buy something in downtown Nashville, it's always going to be something in demand. But some of these prices are so absurd. There are going to be some people that are going to get burned.
Right.
At some, I don't know. I mean, there's going to be a bubble. It's so desirable that they're paying more than some of the actual units are worth for 500 square feet or 800 square feet.
I think so. The bubble, banks that are regulated by the federal government have reformed their lending practices, as you mentioned, but private equity funds aren't subject to the same regulation.
That's a good point.
And there's been a lot of media coverage for many years now about the huge amount of assets that are tied up in private equity funds looking for a place to land. And I would think that if there's a bubble in our real estate market, it's probably being driven off of private equity dollars rather than bank dollars.
That's very interesting. I mean, that makes sense to me because, I was thinking, well, how does that form with the regulations of banking? And I think that's exactly it. And it's right now it's a great place, but I mean, how long will this party last?
Right, and we've heard a number of people from the development community say they see a slowdown coming, just kind of a catch-up time.
Yeah.
We're hopeful this can help be sort of part of the cushion if they build more luxury than they need, then we've got some people lined up to
go into
take
some of these more
ones.
affordable units. Great. Let's go to Tony. Hi, Tony.
Hey, good morning, Nick.
Good morning, Tony.
Hello.
Hey.
Good morning, Nick. What I'm trying to say, the people on there, I appreciate Mr. Mendez and all that. I've been keeping up with the paper and the reports that he's doing a fantastic job. Actually, better than all the councilmen on the board. Because he represents the people like he said he would. But the problem I got is the mayor guy. She's been in office almost 9 years. Like Mr. Fox said during the elections, and she ain't done really anything she could have did. Now you're going to take $22 million to Centennial Park. Basically, what she's doing is dividing and conquering the races. You're not doing it to any other parks in the historical black neighborhoods. You're going out there, and she's doing the same thing that Dean did. And if he had to vote again today, I would not vote for neither one of them because they know the housing is the top priority. Why would you go put money in the park and loan money to these millionaires building these hotels where people can't live? You're not thinking about the city to pay the taxes to you. It's not your money. You just can't do what you want to with other people's money.
All right. Well, now the mayor's been supportive of the grants pilot program, right? And the whole idea of trying to get more of this inclusionary zoning on the books. You get the sense that she's going to stick with all this?
I think she's absolutely committed to it. I spent several hours, I think, Bob, you were there as well, on Saturday, having we had a conversation about race equity and leadership, and how we can continue to do more and more and more and build on what has been begun already. She did commit $10 million to the Barnes Fund for every year, so that'll be $40 million over her first 4 years. Hopefully there will be more in her second 4. She's, as you mentioned, the $2 million in the grants fund for this inclusionary zoning. I had a list, and I cannot remember the other pieces of it, that show that that the commitment to issues related to poverty are huge, that have come out of this administration, and I appreciate the work that she's done. Also just in making sure that her administration looks like Nashville, as opposed to being as homogeneous as it has been in the past. So I feel like this mayor's working very hard to address these issues. She freely admits that we're not done yet, that we've taken one small step, and having conversations like we had last Saturday will help give more ideas for how to continue to move forward and to make that better. What would you add?
I would add, Nashville has been growing so much that the budget, this gets in the weeds on the budget, but the budget went up by $121 million this last year with no tax increase, just due to the immense growth of the city. And so you can look at putting the $10 million to the Barnes Fund one of two ways. You can look at it that that's not enough and we have so much more to do, which is true. And you can look at it as that's an incredible commitment of nearly 10% of the revenue increase went straight into affordable housing. And so the problem is that the gap is so wide. The gentleman makes the point, and I think he's right. We need to focus on these social justice issues in order to make people all across the county feel like this is their city and they're sharing in our success.
All right, so as we wrap things up then, I was asking them during the break, when do we see the wheels start turning on this? And you both acknowledge these are small baby steps to begin with. We're hoping maybe in the first couple of years, how many new units possibly that are affordable are brought to the table? What?
A few hundred per year
maybe
is the best case scenario.
And could you said something about maybe some of this possibly being retroactive to some that have already been built, as opposed to waiting for these new ones to be built?
Both the funding bill and the inclusionary zoning bill had a clause in there that said this could apply to things that are already in the pipeline, and the grants bill can even apply to things that are already built.
Okay, meaning that if that developer wanted to go after some of that grant, and they could do so.
They could do so.
And there's a couple council members, Colby Sledge, for example, Wedgwood, Houston area, who's being aggressive about asking current developments in his district to take advantage of this, and we understand he's having some success with that, so the program may be used for projects that are underway in the Wedgwood, Houston area.
And I've seen a few things come through the Planning Commission that have included that if the funding is available, we will do this, and now we just voted and the funding is going to be available.
So if someone then now is watching this and then they recognize that these are folks maybe that are at the moment being displaced, and they're not sure where they're going to live, how do they go about tangibly pursuing this? I just wonder, how do you go about
They would contact the Mayor's Office of Economic Opportunity and Empowerment.
Most people just don't think of that. I can't find a, how it is.
Right.
We're talking about this. You guys pass this stuff, I cover it, but the average individual out there, how do I go about getting some of this affordable stuff, and maybe they're not up to speed on the computer and everything like that, so contact the Mayor's Office?
Mayor's Office of Economic Opportunity and Empowerment, OEOE.
But if you just call the mayor's office and say, hey, listen, I'm looking for affordable housing programs,
that'll work.
They'll know.
They should know. And then at that point, again, you'll have to make the point that you meet the salary requirements, which again, the median, which is the middle income, right? For, did you say it was for Metro, Davidson County?
Davidson County.
Specifically Davidson County.
$42,000 a year. And so is that the threshold? Is it a little bit above that?
Actually, the way it's set is there's a spectrum anywhere from 60% to 120%, depending on where you're fitting into that.
Okay, and so if you get into that, then that makes an option for you to maybe, and right now we're looking again, it's rental properties, not buying.
There is an option for buying that is probably not enough to make the builder whole.
For people out there looking, it's rental.
It's
Yeah.
rental. Do you anticipate that at some point maybe it transitions a little bit beyond that to buying, or?
Possibly this.
I think when the market conditions change, we
Right.
talked about rental being overheated perhaps. I think when the thousands of rental units that are currently under construction get built and it's a couple years down the road, I think the economics will shift to make it where Metro can give an incentive for sale units.
I gotcha.
But then also to say that the Barnes Fund for Affordable Housing, as well as organizations like Habitat for Humanity, are other options that could push people toward a for sale possibility.
Okay, I figured that may come along the way. You know, no matter how you slice it right now, it's true though. More people, and I've lived here, you know, well, I've been here in Tennessee and in this TV market for about 20 years. Just more people are living downtown. It's become more of a community that's alive after dark down here. And I'm not just talking about the touristy on 2nd and Broad.
Yeah.
People, the question is, can you afford to live here? But it is nice to see, like some other cities have, where you have more of a truly a community, not just the business downtown. It's just as you say, I think it's important to get it so you have more of the diversity, because you know, as we've built all this, it's just the people who can afford to do it. But it would be nice to live downtown, close to where you work, be able to walk and then enjoy all the great stuff that's going on, not having to worry about parking, right? I suppose. Come down for like the concert on the Green and all that is just awesome. So there's so many neat things about living in the city, but the key is getting it to be more affordable. But you guys are far from done on this, right?
That's right.
You're not. You're going to give up.
working.
You're going to give up, aren't you?
No.
You're not going to give up.
On to
You're
the
going to
next
stick
thing.
with it. But like I said, I agree with what you say. This is a small step to it. But even 100 units or something like that every year or so is a big step in that direction. If it's something, you know, where people can affordably live down here, I just hope it eases the traffic too.
Right.
You guys get cracking on the public transit.
work on
Can
that
we
one,
do
too.
that as well? Let's get cracking on that.
It's on the list.
All right, listen, thank you very much both for
We
coming
appreciate it.
on. It's
Thank
good
you.
to see
Glad to be a
you.
part of
Thank
it.
you for
Thanks a
coming
lot.
on. We'll continue to follow this. Maybe we'll do more on it down the road.
All right.
That'd be great.
Take
Appreciate
a
it.
break. Be back to wrap things up. Programming note about tomorrow right after this. Stay with us.